I'm there. Am I live? Not out. Put this one up over here. Turn down the volume. And let's share this on Twitter. I know they're so interested in how I edit. So might as well let them watch me edit. Hey, so it takes me a minute because I had to type it out. I had to wait till I had a URL. So, oh goodness, it is 10:22 in California. It is April 28th, 2025. Yesterday, I did an hour video of me editing Wikipedia. I chose an article by at random, a stub, because my team's Wikipedia. I chose an article by at random. I thought I had the volume down. Sorry. I had my team is supposed to be working on archaeology, all kinds of archaeology articles for the next few months. And so I picked at random Wikipedia article for somebody named Jotham Johnson. And I put together all the structure of it last night for about an hour. And I said to myself when I got done, I maybe have 2 hours, 3 hours left. Well, that was wrong. So I'm probably on hour 3 now. I did a bunch of stuff outside without you guys being able to see. So, I mean, I can't imagine this would be super interesting to you, but I got into it because I really like using newspapers.com. And we don't do original research. Wikipedians don't really do original research. But when the person has died, then we are more able to use newspapers.com to do original research, or Ancestry even, to try to put together and prove. We have to prove things with citations. And while I know Ancestry.com is a primary source, we don't use it much. It's pretty rare. And it's usually to back up something like, primary source would probably be used to back up like where somebody went to college, a birthday, things like that. Not huge, important, massive things. So let me show you where I'm at, and you can get yourself caught up. The video that I did last night is on my YouTube channel about time, and it's also on my Facebook page, and you're welcome to look at that if you'd like. So where I'm at, here's where I'm at. Oh, heck, I'm tired, I guess. I slept so good last night, let me tell you. I'm going to share my screen. What am I sharing? My sandbox. Okay, so this is the sandbox. It doesn't look like, I don't know, whatever you might think. Some people's edit screens look different than mine. I have highlighting syntax turned on. And so that mine has all these colors, and I use edit. I don't use edit source, which is edit source looks more like maybe a Word document or a Google document. I don't use that. So I also use this format that it's called R refs. I don't even know what it's called. I call it crinkle, crinkle, R bar name, uncrinkle, uncrinkle. I train people, you guys. And so I try not to use all the terminology that Wikipedia editors use because it's very intimidating for people who aren't coders to try to edit Wikipedia, and they've got all this jargon and code and stuff like that. So I don't really use that stuff. I try to keep it so that I don't want to say simple, but I guess simple is the way to do it. I make up my own words. So whatever, sue me. All right. So what you're looking at is the code on my sandbox. So the Wikipedia page for Jotham Johnson is still there. It's untouched. It's just sitting live. And I pulled in tons of things. You can go and look at it if you want to. I've pulled in a lot of things, and I have spent, like I said, probably about 3 hours today working on it. I still haven't touched this lead. I took all the citations out of it last night. I haven't touched it. Here's the 4 articles that I started with last night. I have used this one a bit several times. And then if you remember correctly, I brought in early life and education, career, works, awards and honors, professional organizations and associations, personal life, and then the references. And this is how I tend to edit with the edits, the citations looking like this. It's much neater. It's easy to find things. It's most Wikipedia editors put their citations in the body of the article. And I just I find that messy. So I really don't do it that way. Unless, of course, I'm just making a quick edit on somebody's article, and then I'm not going to go back and reformat everything because that will just take the rest of my life. It's just an editing thing I like. All right. So what is this? Colleges band. What is that? I don't remember doing that. That doesn't make sense. I must have just done that. Okay. All right. So what I've spent almost the last 3 hours on is I got into newspapers.com looking for early life, because this part right here I find makes the article so much more interesting to read. It's got, who is this person? Why are they working in the career they're in? Why are they where they are? That kind of stuff. And I think it tells a lot about a person. So I spent a lot of time trying to make sure I had all the documentation for this. So I had seen in the New York Times his birth date, so that was not unusual for me. And that even there's a book out that says he was born in Newark. So, I had that citation ready. And I had heard he was the son of a doctor, but I went in and found that he's not just a doctor, he's a physician. So not like a doctor of medicine, of music or something like that. He is an MD. And then it took me a while to find this. Let me add this. His mother's name, because I really wanted to have his mother's name in there if I could. So I had to go and do some work. And then her last name is Compson. I want to make sure that was her maiden name. And that took a while. And trying to make sure that I had some sort of evidence that they are, that they're married. It's not really that important, but I'm saying he is the son of these people. So I had to go find that. So I found the marriage certificate. And this was fascinating. His older sister, born in 1896, was an editor for Vogue magazine in Paris, and then a special writer for Look magazine until just before her death in 1955. So she never married that I can see. She was a traveler. I found her passport. in ancestries.com. So when somebody's died, you can get a lot of documentation you wouldn't have been able to get before. So I wanted to add that in there because I think it fills out the story of who this man is. All right. And then the New York Times article, the obituary, is just like sentence after sentence after sentence after sentence with he went and did this, he did this amazing thing, he did this thing in this year, he went to this college in this year. And it doesn't flow as a something for a Wikipedia article that somebody could read through. I mean, we're not writing his CV. This isn't his resume. I'm trying to put it into narrative form using my own words without using too many quotes from the New York Times. And I'm trying to do that so that it's readable and interesting and leaving out all the, piddly stuff and trying to make it less numbers and stuff. So I also like it to be in chronological order. I think it makes sense. So this is his early life, and then a little bit about his sister, never mention her again. He graduated from Princeton University in 1926 and transferred to the American School of Classical Studies at Athens and became a fellow in 1927. See, this is the citation that's backing up everything. See, like this is a citation that's backing up her thing. So I'll show you that in a second. So I spent a lot of time looking for, like I had to look and see if there was a Wikipedia article for the American School of Classical Studies at Athens, and there is. And I wanted to know, I knew he had a PhD from the University of Pennsylvania, but I wanted to know what it was in. So that took me a while to find that it's in Greek. And he served in the Mediterranean as a lieutenant commander in the Naval Reserve in these years. So, I mean, it's mentioned in the obituary for the New York Times, but it needed more beefing up, I think, because I wanted something more than that. So I went onto Ancestry and I found his discharge papers, not discharge papers, but his papers from 1950, whenever they're applying for whatever it is, the benefits of, or whatever they did. So this section here, coming up with the citations for it, making sure I had everything in line, that I backed up everything in here, that he's a lieutenant commander in the Naval Reserve in these years, a PhD in Greek, that he served in the Mediterranean. To have every bit of that backed up, it took me a while. And it's really, I mean, I don't have to write a Wikipedia page with all that. I don't have to have that. This guy's notability's already been established. This is a rewrite of a Wikipedia page. It's already established. I'm just trying to make it right. So, and remember, I just chose it at random. I don't know who this guy is. Then this area down here, personal life, I finished that a little bit ago. And I wanted to, we don't put people's children's names in articles, especially if they're underage. But once they've died, then they're free game. So I found the obituary for the junior, his son. They only had one child, apparently. And all of that had a whole bunch of information about the grandsons and grandchildren and spouses. None of that's in here because I think I don't want to, I mean, it's a public document, but I'm not putting it in there because it's not relevant to the article to know who his grandchildren are and great grandchildren and all that kind of stuff. So this article is not about Junior, but I thought it was okay to put, he died in 2022. So, and then again, I had to make sure that her last name was Coates. This is who he married. And I got a hold of their marriage certificate in 1941. They had one child. I could put child. I go put child because it makes it sound like they had only one son, but that they had daughters that I'm not mentioning. I'm not going to do that. They only had one child, comma, this person who died in 2022. Really interesting person too. And then, oh my gosh, I had so much fun. Well, I don't know if you'd call it fun, going through newspapers.com And I didn't know this because it wasn't in the other article. Apparently, the senior, what's his name? Jotham. It's not a name that sticks in my head. The senior Jotham, he had wrote a column, and it was in a lot of different newspapers, and the column was called For the Record. And so I went and found a whole bunch of different articles he had written because I wanted to see what it was he wrote about. And I wanted to see that it was in lots of different places. And I wanted to see what years he was writing in so that I could put that in here. He wrote from this year to this year. And the only way for me to really do that is to make lots of clips from newspapers.com. So it got pretty tedious. And I did my best not to read everything on the article, about all the things that were happening in the world at the time. I really just concentrated just on the articles. And it really showed a lot of his personality. And I thought that was great. So, I mean, I couldn't just say he wrote for this magazine from this year to this year, because this was a column he wrote that for some reason was picked up by lots of publications all over the United States. So I did that. And I read through his columns, a whole bunch of them, and made screenshots of a lot. So I put in here some articles were about archaeology news, his opinion of the future of archaeology, stories he'd heard, politics, and often his belief that college campuses should challenge the students' opinions they brought with them as freshmen. Free discussion of topics and unpopular opinions should be offered and encouraged. Oh, I got the word encouraged in here twice. Unpopular opinions should be offered. I'll just use it as offered because I don't want encouraged in here twice. He encouraged professors to see, you want to read out loud so you can find a lot of these mistakes. He encouraged professors to take an opposite opinion of a subject during a discussion. And then I quoted him, the more feelings they hurt, the longer the discussions will be remembered. And if a college education stands for anything, it means that the graduate has been taught to do his own thinking and to reject canned or pre-digested ideas. All of these things here in yellow I wrote these words in here, and they correspond with the citations down here. See, handouts, Italians, cartoons, C4, college bands, professors, and politicos. I'm not expecting you guys to turn into Wikipedia editors just from watching this. And according to the New York Times, and actually another one, he died of a heart attack during a meeting of department heads on Washington Square, and he was 61 years old. Isn't that sad? And today at lunch, I was just reading an article, I think it was in the New York Times, might have been, that they were talking about how, defibrillators, they're all over the place, but people don't use them because they don't know how to use them or they're scared to use them. And most people haven't taken a CPR class and, compressions and all that kind of stuff, and how out of date most of us are. And, we wouldn't even know where to find a defibrillator, or like I say, how to use it necessarily, would be afraid. In some countries, kids starting out, even in middle school, have to go through CPR classes. It's a requirement for graduation. I thought that was fascinating. I really would be interested in the data on, how preventive they are, saving lives. But anyway, I digress. But I was thinking of that when I read this, that he died of a heart attack during a meeting. I mean, he was 61 years old. He really was a really interesting person. And it's so sad thinking that if they had better ways of, if they had a defibrillator, or people knew what CPR was or anything at that time, 1967, that the man would have lived a lot longer. And another thing that was sad is I'm going through Ancestry and I'm looking at his sister and his father, and they all died relatively early, 58, 55, 60s. So, they didn't live long. This is something I picked up out of the obituary for his son. 4 generations of Johnson men graduated from Princeton University. So here's the father, class of 1879. And then here's the guy I'm writing the Wikipedia page for, 1926, his son, and then the grandson in the class of 2000. And I'm going back and forth if I should leave his name in here or change it to his grandson. I'll think about it. I mean, he's class of 2000. He's seriously an adult. So this section took forever to write because, like I said, I pulled up all those things. So let me show you what it looks like now. All one of you watching. Oh, Karen's probably watching. Hi, Karen. So good to have you here. So here's what it looks like. This I haven't touched. This is exactly what it was last night. So this spent me hours just getting this little bit in here. I know it doesn't look like much, but this is where I was talking about. Like Vogue magazine, I had to make sure I had it cited right. Look magazine, there are multiple Look magazine things. There's American, there's UK. So I had to figure out, is it the American Look magazine or is it the UK Look magazine? You wanted to reference to the right place. And then American School of Classical Studies at Athens is apparently have its own Wikipedia page. And University of Pennsylvania, you got to make sure that they hyperlink correctly because there could be more than one or whatever. This is where I started writing before I started the Zoom. This I haven't touched. And then again, this took me hours to get this right. Let me show you some of the citations I found. I thought they were interesting. What do I want to show you? Oh, this one I can't show you because I don't have a link to it. This is the application for World War II compensation. Certificate of marriage. Let me see if this pulls up right. It might not because it's ancestry. This is his sister. And they had a photo. And they had the newspaper clipping too. Somewhere here. Dun, dun, dun. There was a newspaper clipping. I don't see it right now. I guess I'm going to fix that. But I had a newspaper clipping for his sister. She only made it to 59. How sad. I guess that might have been a long time for somebody at that point. Newspaper articles. Here's one on Nixon upsets leftists by stand on cartoon. You know, I'm reading through this. Here's one. Edith Compson, wife of. So I'm going through this trying to make sure I've got this spelled right. This is his mother, Edith Compson, wife and mother of Catherine and Jonathan. Okay, so she died on this day. So she got remarried after her husband died because her last name became Eli. And wife of William C. Eli and mother of Catherine and Jotham. She died suddenly at her home in 1949. I don't know if they were divorced or not, but I had all this. That was so you can see you're finding these little things, you're trying to put them together and you're trying to make sure you got it right because I'm trying to make sure I have the right person. I mean, it's a name like Johnson. It's pretty easy. Nixon upsets leftists by stand on cartoon. Fascinating article. No, that's not Nixon. So you have to clip these from newspapers.com. So I have that link available. What it was basically about is that there was a very unflattering cartoon about Nixon. And so they tried to get it, San Francisco tried to ban the cartoon. And Nixon said, no, print the dang cartoon. It had something to do with the Hiss trial, Hiss trial. And he was running for office. He was a vice president running for office. And this is in 1955. So Jotham says, you know, the left is going to be really upset because they want to hold it over Nixon that he is censoring things. But yet here he is saying, print it, go ahead and print it. So he said it's going to really make him upset. Oh, this one was so funny. I'm telling you, you never know what you're going to find. Federal handouts could be useful. So I guess in 1962, not too long before he dies, he is writing this column and he's talking about uh, consumers getting a handout, like a surplus, not a surplus, like a rebate. Kind of, this sounds familiar. So he's talking about this, and he says no taxpayer has, as one taxpayer has no desire for a cabin cruiser and who would not spend a vacation in Cuba if he paid me. I've compiled a list for the White House, my own list of handouts, the good and useful things that I would spend my share of the affluence on if they would just let me keep some of it. And he says he wants to put a new roof on the other half of his house because it's leaking. He's talking about his storm windows and getting another coat of paint, some carpet on the stairs. And then he wants a new portable typewriter, about $120 worth. He says, I spend 2/3 of my day writing. I consider myself entitled to good equipment. The typewriter I have jumps spaces and doesn't always return to the same margin and crumples the paper. And by the end of the day, I'm seething with frustration. Oh man, we've got it so good. Oh my gosh, I learned to type on a typewriter in high school too. And it wasn't electric. I mean, I can imagine. So, and then he's going on and he's talking about getting the typewriter, and then he wants to, he wants a more efficient desk. He's using a hand-me-down, a file cabinet, and a tape recorder, a new lens, about $60 for the camera he uses to take archaeological pictures and he teaches with. And he wants more reference books in the department office. I just love this article. It just said so much about him. So I really couldn't put that in the body of the article, as I'm pointing to the body of the article, as if you can see me pointing to it, right? As I'm screen sharing. So what I can do is I can quote. I could take the citation and I can add a quote in here. So I summed it up really tight and I put that in there because it just really amused me. And I did that. I thought it was fun. And anyway, so there's some of the stuff you saw last night. This was hilarious. This was a story. I think this is the first thing I found, and I thought, what am I reading? 1955. And he says he's sitting outside of a gate of a Roman excavation in Italy, and where the archaeologists eat. During lunch there one day, the wife of the excavation director told me this story. So it goes on and on about this young woman who gets married. She's like 19, marries an American vet. She goes away to Atlanta, Georgia, and her family, her mom and her siblings are just like, oh, poor thing, oh, that's awful. And so the sister, her name is Francesca, she keeps writing home saying she's pregnant and her husband's got a job driving a truck. And so the family keeps saying, oh, poor Francesca, the baby, they're penniless and nobody can live in a house with just driving a truck. And then Francesca writes back months later, she had a healthy baby. She's very happy. She's not lonely. She has her own garden. She's got broccoli and zucchini, and her husband's getting a bigger truck. And then she's pregnant again. So then the family's still upset, making excuses for, oh, poor Francesca. Then she goes into a bigger house and they're like, oh, poor Francesca. She's waiting on people and she's working in people's gardens and she's got all these babies. And then she writes and she says, all these other things, and nobody believes her. They absolutely don't believe her. So the mother says, that's it. Years later, I'm going to go to Francesca. I have just enough money to get myself to Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm going to go see what's going on. 130,000 lira. And so she goes and then she writes back and she says it was all true. She's got all these babies. She's had 6 boys. She's expecting another. She's wearing nylon stockings, going to meetings of the Association of Parents and Teachers. She had an electric kitchen. She drove a kind of car called a Cadillac, like a mad woman. and her husband's now vice president of the company. Compagnia. She says, you guys back in Italy, you can have your life. I'm going to stay here with Maria. Francesca. Such a cute story, but what do you do with that? That's just, I decided it in here. I said stories he'd heard. You can see why I get distracted, and it's taken me so long, right? So I have, all right. So I found out that this photo, which with the kittens that I showed you guys last night, there's location information on here. It says relative position within image. And one of my editors is really into computers. He's a computer person, whatever they do, like for a living. And he was able to figure out the math on this. And he figured out that this is our target right here, this guy right here. So remember how I said I was thinking if I could figure out which one it was, I would crop the image and use that as the main picture, and then put this whole picture somewhere in the body of the article. But I decided what I'm going to do is something a little different. I'm not going to crop it, especially since his eyes are looking down and he's not holding the kitten. These two guys got kittens. So he looks like, oh, I'm taking a picture. What, man? So I don't want that close up of him. But I will put this photo in the article because I think it's great. And it shows kind of what life is like when he was out excavating. So I will do that. Put that back in my other area. And I found a list that he is the former president of the American Archaeological International Association, I think it is. So there's his name somewhere here. You're probably looking right at it, going right there, Susan, a little bit down. There he is. And the years. So I found this. It's put out by archaeological.org. And I wrote to them, I sent them an email because I said, hey, the magazine he's an editor of, I see that it's quoted in the New York Times, but I don't see a citation about that. So if you've got a citation or a biography on this guy, can I please get it from you? So obviously I'm not going to get it tonight. Here is an article, and I've got about 5 articles of like this that show here's an image. I'm all excited. There's an image of him. And he's a distinguished archaeologist to speak at Arkansas College. And so you read these, and sometimes there's a little bit of information in here. Following military service as a naval officer in the Gulf Sea in North Africa. See, so I can go back and add this citation to prove again a little bit more information about where he was serving. Now, he probably supplied this information, but I'm not only using his word for it. Here's another one. And this is a better photo. He doesn't look super happy. He's about to die, but he doesn't know it. So it talks a little bit more about the things he's done. Somewhere in here, I noticed that he has a TV show. Here's another one. Much better image. So this one, I think, again, I'm doing it in chronological order. And since I haven't gotten that far, he's consulting editor of Horizon New Century Classical Dictionary, and it is edited Classical Weekly Archaeology and Archaeology Newsletter. Yeah, one of these, or maybe there's a couple of these somewhere that talk about him being a TV program they had. Here it is. No, this isn't it. Oh, he produces a television show over CBS in New York 3 days weekly. It is titled Sunrise Semester, Classical Civilization, Mediterranean Archaeology. So he's going to be doing a talk. And here's another photo of him. I'm brushing it off as if like that will get the dust off of there, right? So I'm going to get one of these photos. I think this one he looks a little happier. and see if I can get this released, because it's an old grainy photo from a newspaper and it's old. So I should be able to get that uploaded to Wikimedia Commons so I can use it as the main photo. It's not great, but you know, what am I going to do? I don't know who this guy is. I don't have any way of contacting his family. His son is dead. So that one, he just looks a little sourer than that one. That one, he has a little bit of a smile. This one's okay, but I just think it's too dark. So I think I'm going to try to use this image of him. And photos to me are really a big deal. I mean, I want those on articles. Bugs me if we don't have photos. And this one, this has another photo, but again, he looks distracted. He's looking down. And in this article, so I mean, like, so there could be these articles, but I'm not using the article, all the content in here. I'm not really sure I want the information about him seeing a big future for archaeology and sunken art treasure recovery. I might, but if you sum this up, and that's what you have to do, and then put a link to it, is that what he's saying is that a lot of the really good sites have been looted. And so if we're going to find really good stuff, it's probably going to be statues and things like that that were on boats and the boats sunk. And so down at the bottom of the ocean is probably going to be a lot of really great treasures that need to be pulled up because nobody has looted them. And because to get to those items at the bottom of the sea, it's going to require a lot of money. It's going to require a lot of time, and people are going to take care, and somebody will notice, and they'll probably go in a museum and so on. So he's saying that archaeology is probably needs to invest their time in that area to find some of these monuments and stuff like that. So that was interesting. Okay, I've got these other ones over here that I just did last night that I'm not touching because I did them, just talked about them last night. This guy has had a really interesting life. And some of the things I was reading him over, I don't know if I'll talk about this ever again because I'll be moving on to the next article by the time I get to, I don't think I'll finish tonight, but I'm not going to sit here and edit in front of you guys because it's so tedious. But what I think I'm going to do is, let me tell you a little story that I read. So I got to figure out how to put this into my own words and of course it's in a book. It's only like 2 paragraphs long. So I have to find a way of summing it up. So what the person who's this author of this book says is that horoscopes were a big thing back in the day. I'm not sure what day it is. I can't quite remember. There was this place right near this river in, is it Italy? Okay, I don't remember right now, but I will know before I make the notation. So one of these slides. There was this area. It's like they call it like the Pompeii. It's not Syria. Was it Syria? I think it's now modern day Syria. And that's the other thing. Things change names. So there was this place, and it was right next to the water, a major waterway, and it was very cosmopolitan. They said it was kind of like New York City with a lot of different cultures. You had Jewish people, you had whatever the equivalent to a wide range of religions were. And people got along, and they had a lot of money. And what ended up happening is I think the Romans came and decided it was going to, here's my princess again. They were going to attack it. So I guess they had a fort around the outside, and they came after these people. And what they did is the Romans burrowed underneath, but the people inside the fortress, the city, what they did is they made sulfuric acid, I think it was. They used some sort of gaseous stuff, and they put it into the tunnel, and a bunch of the Romans died, and one of the people of the town, I can't remember what it is called, and they can date this because one of the bodies, because they found the bodies, one of the bodies had a coin and it had a date, or it had some sort of mechanism on it. So that was really interesting. So that place was, they took all the people out, most of the people, and there's a lot of controversy about that too, because it looks like some people stayed and they found piles of gold, or whatever their equivalent to gold was, their equivalent of coinage there, because it looked like people left, but they left a lot of their coin there thinking they were going to get to come back, but of course they didn't come back. And then there's another excavation he was part of that was who are those people? Not the Taliban. Recently, like in 2011, 2015, they went in and absolutely looted this village. They found this archaeological area and have, with no respect whatsoever, just took everything they could find out of it to use it to fuel for munitions and weapons and stuff like that. They just looted this town. It's really sad. And so, of course, this is way before he was involved. So, I mean, I've had to do a lot of reading on it to kind of catch up so I can sort of understand what it is I'm editing. Again, I don't have to be an expert on these kinds of things. I'm writing about a person. I'm writing about a human being. So his work isn't relevant to me necessarily. It's an overview of his career, of course, but I mean, I'm going to have to go through it and do what I can to make sense of it. Otherwise, nothing would happen to this article. Nobody would ever write anything. So, oh, I was telling you. So, in this village that I think was eventually looted way after he was already dead, the person in this book is saying that astrology was a big deal for royalty. So you could get your charts done if you're a royal birth. But as time progressed, you could purchase a reading for your newborn child. You could find out their like life path or whatever it is they did. And so he found in one of these ruins, like I said, before it was looted, a wall in a house, and it had it all scratched in it in Greek, because this guy is his PhD's in Greek. And so he found and they also had a drawing of the astronomical where the stars were in the sky at the birth of this child, and writing. So I guess he spent a lot of time making charts and figuring out and doing whatever he does, rubbings and translating and everything. And then he got back to his University of Philadelphia, I think. And he went into the astronomy department, and they spent a few months and they figured out the day and the time. It was 10 p.m. when this child was born, based on the planets and the stars or whatever was out there. So they were able to take the chart and they figured it out, that they know the day and the year. I think it was 127 Common Era, something like that. It was really neat. And at 10 p.m. I don't know. I love that. I just kind of got chills when I was hearing about that. I thought that was super interesting. The other thing this guy is known for is he figured out, I guess calendars were his thing. And see, I can't read his stuff and have it make sense to me. I have to read it over from the people who are trying to make sense of it, the experts who are writing about it. That's secondary. I can't do primary sources. That would make any sense. I'm not an expert to be able to do primary sources. And besides, I have no business doing primary sources to try to read his work and sum it up. That doesn't make any sense. Wikipedians aren't allowed to do that. We're we're editors. We're taking the information that other people who are experts are writing or publishing, and those people should be journalists, having journalistic integrity to be able to do that, obviously. And they sum it up, and then I'm able to say, according to this expert who's publishing in this place with journalistic integrity, they say that his work is instrumental in understanding whatever. So here's another thing I thought was great. He figured out what was the day, I believe, that the Greeks had used to start the calendar. Okay, in 1940, with the help of a planetarium at Pittsburgh, he worked out the date used by the ancient Egyptians as the starting point of their calendar as June 18th, 3251 BCE. Well, they said BC. June 18th. Isn't that cool? That's the first day the Egyptians started out using the calendar. That was the starting point of their calendar. Hey, it's our calendar. Today we're going to start our calendar. What day is it? Let's make it June 18th. And that's what it was. That was interesting. Another thing he did, it says it caused some embarrassment. In 1956, this university was going to say March 15th of the year was the 2000th anniversary of the Ides of March, when Julius Caesar was assassinated. And I guess they were all going to get ready and celebrate. I don't know why you'd celebrate it, but to commemorate the death of Julius Caesar on March 15th. And so this professor here that I'm writing about, it's only 1,999 because the years can't be added up. So you can't say 1 BCE equals 1 year, since there was no 0 year. So he says it's not the 2000th anniversary. It is 1,199 years. I guess they were really pissed off because they wanted the 2000th anniversary. I don't know if it ever happened the year after that or not, but I mean, this is the kind of stuff you learn about people whenever you're writing these Wikipedia pages. In other words, it takes forever to write anything. But so I guess I had to close down the newspapers.com because I was just like going from, I mean, I could have probably put, oh, good Lord, he was pretty prolific. So let's go back to what I'm working on right now. Let's see where I've got to finish. So I've just got to write the body. I've got to sum up his career, and I started it right here. And again, I'm trying to do it in chronological order, and I'm trying not to embellish it. And I'm trying not to add anything that's going to sound, I don't know, too much. But yet I can't, I've got to find a way of doing it so it's not just on this year he did this, and this year he did this, and this year he did this, and he went here and he moved here and he graduated from here and he signed up to be professor in this year and done. I mean, this, like I said, this is not a resume, it's not a CV, this is not LinkedIn. So you got to find a way of making it, adding a little bit of meat to whatever you're saying, and you don't want to keep starting the same sentence in this year, in this year, in this year, in this year, or, you got to try to break up the paragraphs so it's readable. So it's a certain style to writing Wikipedia, which is why I need to keep writing Wikipedia, because it's a practice. You see things, you read something and you say, I can see how I would use that in an article. I'm going to get rid of all that. I'm just going to use this little bit over here. So I need to come up with a career in a readable way without it having a bunch of years in it and professorships. and add a little bit of color to it, because I mean, it's quoted in these books about the work he did finding the exact date that the baby was born. Also about the calendar and how he figured out that what year it was the Egyptians had started the calendar. And also this, how he was really like, no fun, because he said that it wasn't 2000 years. So maybe like a sentence somehow. And a lot of people have that when I'm training them. They just have a lot of trouble understanding that you have to have a little of imagination. A lot of people who I train are coders. Numbers, letters, dashes and bars and forward slashes, they got that. But trying to say, okay, it's not about that. I mean, yes, you're coding, you can write that, but you got to find a way of saying it to sum it up, to make it interesting without it being flattering, without it being reading something into it that's not there. You've got to sum it up in a way that it is accurate. But yet you're using your own words, because you can't use too many quotes unless you're quoting them. And even still, we're not supposed to do that, a lot of that. And that is really where people get stuck in my group. They go, well, what am I supposed to say? I'm like, well, what does the citation say? Read it over. I like to think of it as read the citation, read the article over, and then sum it up in your own words. How would you explain it to somebody? And take out a lot of the anything that would look flattering, I guess, and just state the facts, but not too much detail. I see there's no exact anything in this. And that's why when we make these pages live, somebody else can come in here and go, and take it out. Or they can say, oh, well, let's add this in. I usually tell my people to add more than you would expect, because people like to take stuff out, but they're unlikely to go to the source and add stuff in. So add more than you would expect. And that way, when they come along and they want to change it, they can take stuff out and it's, don't scratch me. And they can take stuff out and it'll still be left with whatever you want. So like about the sister, I've got a sentence. Yeah, it's one sentence. I summed her up. I think it helps tell the story of his life without being a huge part. I don't have a lot about his military service. I don't want to be like, oh, and he served on this island and he did this battle and he did that thing. No. You don't have to have all that. If somebody wants to read that, they can go to the citation that we put in there and they can see where he served. I'm really curious about how they got the name Jotham, Jotham. His father was a Jotham. I've never heard of that before. What an interesting name. I could see why it'd be passed down. And he has a son he also named Jotham. So it's a family name. I wonder if it was a maiden name of somebody in the family farther back, because I was looking at Ancestry and I was able to figure out his family tree, but I mean, I'm not going to go more than a generation. I just wanted to see who his parents were. And if they had been from another country, that might have been interesting. Like if I had said, the family immigrated in the 1890s or immigrated in the 1850s from Italy or from, Poland or something like that. But everything I saw was New Jersey, New York area. So it looks like they've probably been here for a while. But Jotham, what Jotham? Joth, Joth, A-M, Jotham. I'll have to look it up when I get some time and see if I can figure that out. But I'm really curious about that name. Jotham Johnson. It's a fascinating name. I don't think his son is a Jotham, but I don't think it goes any further than that, if I remember. his grandkids. Oh, yeah, his grandson is Jotham Thomas. But I think his Jotham Thomas's children, he has three, and I don't think any of them are Jothams. Maybe a middle name, but I don't have it on here. I don't know. I thought that was fascinating. So anyway, I've got to get the photo on here. That's finagling. I can't stand Wikipedia Commons. And I got to get the career in here. And I'm going to probably take out the awards and honors, professional organizations and associations, and throw that out because it's going to be woven into the career, I think. And then I've got to go and sum up the lead based on what I wrote in the body. The lead is always written last. So, and the lead is always made up of whatever's in the body of the article. And you don't put citations in the lead. It's supposed to sum up whatever's in there. And then I've got to fill in the info box now that I have all this information, like where he lived, and where he died. And oh, I'm so sad. He died at work in front of his coworkers. Oh, it's just so awful. And then sum it up, like what is he known as? Where did he go to school? So that info box is going to get a lot bigger. And then once I can have a photo, I can put in there. That'll look a lot nicer. I don't want to say I'll be done in an hour because I thought I'd be done in 3 hours, and I've just explained this for an hour, and I spent at least 3 hours on this, and I've got more to do. So anyway, so you can kind of see how this works. It's not I don't know how I would say it. It's not an exact science, and it takes skill and time. And then if you get a little distracted because it's interesting and everything I didn't know anything last night, but then I've been reading about some of these archaeological sites and things today. And everything's cited. So it should be fast once I get in there and start working on the body of this thing. I'm just thinking it through. I wonder if I should, it's 11 o'clock now. I guess I should go to bed and start fresh. I'm getting ready to go out of town. I'm going to be doing a conference in Canada, Calgary. I've got a bunch of speaking gigs. Maybe I can finish this up tomorrow. I'm going to leave all these tabs open, all 9,000 of them. Over 9,000. Yeah, see, nobody's left me a comment. Isn't that nice? I'm just talking to myself. La, 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 la. My cat's here. Now she's sleeping. Anyway, that's what I do. And it takes a while. I've written Wikipedia articles in 3 hours, completely finished. Some I've made it from scratch because they're so recent and all the citations are fresh. You don't have anything to find because they're all like a book. The book came out, a few months ago, so it's fast because where are you going to look? You only have to look the last few months. Then here's what all the reviews say about the book. I've done some in 8 to 10 hours. I think this is like I think I'm on article 56 or something. So I've written quite a few, a large range too. And these are pages I've written. I'm not talking about stuff I just edit because I do all kinds of editing all the time. And then I go weeks without doing any editing. Yeah, I think this is like page 56 or something like that. And I have maybe I'll go live again to show how I make it live. Maybe that's interesting to you guys. We'll see. I have a whole bunch of videos on my channel that I'm going to upload this to in a few minutes. Well, once it's loaded. I have a whole bunch of videos watching me edit. I don't know why people think that there's something nefarious going on if you can just if you wanted to watch, I think I have one that's like 12 hours long. It's over a couple days, but you can watch me editing for about a 12-hour period. A lot. But if my team wants to watch these, that's fine. They probably have better things to do, but just understanding what goes into this, I hope makes you appreciate what you read on a Wikipedia article, because I trust you, I'm not doing anything fancy. This is how it goes. But I really do think most people spend a lot longer. There's I have a lot of the code memorized, so I can just do it fast. And I kind of see these things, like I said, and I sum it up in my mind what it is I'm going to write, how I'm going to word it. So, oh, look, Paula. Hey, everyone else is asleep. Hey, I've got a worldwide audience. I want you to know, Paula and Miss Snotty Pants there are people in Johannesburg that are watching right now. Hey, sorry, what time is it in Johannesburg? It's 8:22 a.m. They're watching. I had somebody from Johannesburg write to me last night. I was like, "Who are you?" I've got people all over the world, Paula. There are people all over the world who are watching me right now. They're just hanging on to my every word. They're all there. Nuh-uh. She says, nuh-uh. You're watching. And Imogen's watching. Oh, sweetie pie princess. She's doing good. She's doing good. The other one sound asleep. I guess I should just hang this up because I gotta go to bed, even though I'm usually up much later than this. All right. So when I get it live, I'll make it live, and maybe depending on when I do it, I'll do another live. I don't know if I have time to do another article before I go out of town, because I gotta pack. I gotta practice. All right. So good night, everybody. I don't know why. I guess I'm tired. A lot on my mind. My kitty isn't healthy, and I want to make her last a lot longer. So I guess it's been on my mind. Don't need any more death in my life right now. I had a kitty die 3 weeks ago, and then my partner died. So I'm kind of over it right now. And I cannot find where's my mouse on here. I've got 5 screens open. There it is. Where it is. And I got this little keypad here thing you click, like control something, and then it shows you where your mouse is, but I've forgotten what I'm supposed to click. Good night, all. Oh, Paula says somebody else is watching. Paula says somebody else is watching. Who's watching me, Paula? Besides Imogen right here. She's so sweet. She's like her fur is like a rabbit. It's so soft. We're gonna skin you. I'm gonna make a muff out of you. They don't speak English. And I don't speak cat. All right. Good night, you guys.